They succeeded. So when we came along, and the bill phased out in 1963, everybody was negotiating. When your lease was up, there wasn't an issue. I own 3 businesses. When my lease was up, I didn't even give it a thought. It was a nothing thing. I went to the landlord, how you doing? My costs are up. Oh, my costs are up. Blah, 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 blah. How about a 2% increase, 3% fine, thank you, blah, blah, blah. It was a no event. It's not like today. They've got a gun to your head. But the fact is that when we came along in '84 and we had to develop a bill, then we used this successful bill that was enacted for 18 years. It was hugely successful. So we used that. I went to England. We had people went to France. We sent 63 letters all around the world to governments. Have you ever had this problem? How did you solve it? Escalating rents. How did you deal with it? We sit down with the landlords. We formulated this bill. We took it to the legislators. They could not reject it. The only thing that stopped it was political will. The same thing today. It isn't a question. As a matter of fact, we've changed the bill. The original bill was 5 years, and the rent could be increased 45%. Now stop and think. This is how crazy it was back in the 1980s. The average increase in rent was 400% in New York City. Everybody was going out of business. 400%. So when our bill, the trigger for arbitration, was 45%. So it shows you how nuts it was. But Peter Valone stepped in at the last second. We had the votes. Now, fast forward. What changed was the banks were the nail in the coffin when they started bidding on every block. The franchises, because we didn't have franchises. We didn't have extortion. We didn't have commercial. The real estate tax was nothing. Today, that's the #2 reason for businesses to close, is the increase in the property tax. So all of the things today, we never had. Now, here's the situation. In 2008, we reintroduced the bill. We stripped all of the formulas away. There was no more triggers. It was strictly arbitration, case by case. No government involvement whatsoever. And the reason we did that is because the original rent control, these guys were honest. Mayor LaGuardia, Dewey, the government was not the same as today. These guys solved problems. Good government. Today, if you pass the same bill, these guys would automatically change the controls. You don't want rent control. You may think you would, wow, that sounds great. You don't want it. It's like residential rent control 10 years ago when they would raise the rent for 7%, 8%, stuff like that. It's the same thing. So the bottom line is we had the bill that was in line with corporations. Your cell phone contracts call for arbitration. The whole world, sports. You can go to any grade school and ask a kid what arbitration means, and they know. So the whole world is on arbitration as the best resolution, case by case. Now guess what criteria we use to determine what is a reasonable rent? We use the same arbitration that was successful for 18 years. That was proven successful for 18 years. Now why that's so important is that the real estate industry, they want to ignore that this worked for 18 years. As a matter of fact, Steve Spinola, who's the head of the real estate board, when asked about the commercial rent control, what commercial rent control? I don't know anything about it. It was, every member of his organization was controlled for 18 years and was in litigation more than any bill ever in the history of New York State. And they won every case, every single case, but he doesn't know anything about it. The reason why he doesn't know anything about it is because it worked. And they cannot produce one landlord, not one, who was suffered and could not receive a reasonable return because it was built in to the law. You were entitled to a reasonable return. And so we have the solution. It's so simple, it's ridiculous. You have rights. You have a process, mediation, and then you go to arbitration. There's a set of criteria that's fair. So what's the problem? There is no problem. And that's why when you ask an elected official what exactly, specifically, is wrong with this bill, they cannot give you an honest answer. They lie. They absolutely have to lie. They have to lie. Because what you're saying, in effect, is why can't you give this owner a right? If you claim that he's the backbone of the economy, if you claim that he's the creator of jobs, if you claim that he's important to the economy, then why wouldn't you give him a right to remain in business? And they cannot give you an answer. So what they say is it has legal problems.
That's what they said today.
That's
what Brad Lander said.
Let me think. In the history, we're checking on this. We may not be right, but in the history of the state, we're right. In the history of the United States, we may be right. No bill has had more litigation and scrutinizing than this damn bill. There was a hearing in the city council in 1988 before the vote of whether this bill was constitutional. And the city's own corporate council said, yes, it is. The city of New York has a right, under home rule, to enact legislation dealing with economics, commercial, if they can show that it helps the public welfare, which we can, obviously. So anyway, it's an invisible person in the speaker's office who's making this claim. And even the real estate industry, the most powerful, wealthiest industry in the world, Steve Spinola, will say that we're talking to somebody in the speaker's office, legislative department, who's raising legal concerns. Well, if you're the most powerful lobby in the world with all these lawyers, guess what you do? You have a stack of case law proving that this bill has legal problems, and you deliver it to every council person. They can't do it. So what they've done now is incorporate new bills, new things that look like, well, we're helping small businesses. Now, a major victory, and this is a major victory, is that they're not denying that small businesses are in trouble. I mean, you have to be pretty stupid to deny that. And they're not denying the reason why, rents. Forget the tickets and the lack of loans. Now that it's on the table. Businesses are closing because of the rents. What are you going to do about it? So now they're putting on the table mediation without arbitration. Now, if anybody knows anything about law, mediation doesn't work without arbitration. It's the arbitration that makes the mediation work. It's the threat that, okay, if you're not going to be reasonable with me, then you know what? Let's turn it over to an arbitrator and screw you, okay? You know, take your unreasonable demands and stick them up your ass. This guy is going to make a good ruling, and you know what? That's why mediation works. And I'm a big believer in mediation. But without arbitration, it's useless. Now, it's even worse in New York, because after 20 years of speculation, these guys are making all the money in the world. They don't want to mediate. Why would you want to mediate? I mean, why in the hell would you want to mediate? If everything is your say, you have all the rights, why would you mediate? So that's a dead end. But the fact that they put it on the table is good news. And I'll tell you why it's good news. Because it opens the door to media, forums, debate. It opens the door to public debate. What do you want? What will save the businesses? What does the community want? Do they want the businesses to move after a year? Or do they want them to stay there for 10 years? Do they want them to make a profit? Do they want them to keep paying the landlord's bills? You know, these are the choices. So in a way, it sounds like, wow, it's too bad that they're introducing these things. No, it's not. In a way, it's very good because it opens the debate. Now we're talking about it on radio. They're naming the bill, the Small Business Job Survival Act. They didn't do that before. These people in government, our biggest problem in government is that the small business service centers is not as pro small business as they should be. They should be out there fighting. They should be out there saying, you know, listen, these people deserve a fair rent. And they're closing. Too many of them are closing. Too many good businesses are closing. So the information that they receive is not there. So this debate will bring that out. Now the other solution that they have is the New York State bill, which is unbelievable. I mean, good God. Voluntary New York State law that the landlords get a tax credit for not raising the rent. Like, God, at what point do these guys ever pay their taxes? I mean, you know, I would be, let me tell you, if I was a billionaire, I would be investing in New York City real estate. I mean, you can't lose. You don't pay taxes. The government's there for you. You know, but the bottom line is that now we will go through a phase of debates, public awareness. Now the question is, and we have the best solution. They won't say anything. Gail Brewer was on the news the other day, radio. If you mention the bill, it's some abstract thing. Oh, well, it's not going to pass. It has problems. It's not the best solution.
But she said it needed the state approval.
No, that was another bill. But that was a lie anyway. It doesn't need state approval because this bill was voted on in 1988 by the city council, the committee. That's the thing that they create. When you don't have a good excuse, you create something. But anyway, I'll wrap it up with this aspect. You have the public who's absolutely upset completely with this closing of the businesses. You have a government that's not going to fight for this. You have the real estate industry that's had control over economic policy. They're not flexible. It would be nice if they come along and said, well, maybe we went too far. Maybe some of our members say maybe some of them are over speculating and the results are negative for society. Extortion. You know, it's very common to extort immigrants, owners today. Hell, they give a month-to-month lease. So now the question is this. They're not going to compromise. So they're having people put bills out and do different things. So the idea is, how do you go local? Politics is local. 100%. Everybody has a group that represents them. Does that representative reflect what the community wants? It's as simple as that. If the community goes and says, we want the end of our businesses to close, what are you going to do about it? There is a solution. You know, they can't say, well, there's legal problems and what's your problem with the bill? What's the problem with giving these guys rights? It's as simple as that. Either you give them rights or they're going to go out of business. They've reached what they call a tipping point. You cannot remain in business paying the landlords rents and taxes and make a profit. And that's why these long businesses are going out. You've reached a tipping point for government of what you want from businesses. You want the businesses to pay good salaries. You want the businesses to be able to create jobs. You want the businesses to be profitable so they grow. They can't do that. So something has to give. We passed the tipping point, and the community knows it. Everybody knows it. So the issue is very simple. You have to let the council people say, you must make a decision. Either you're on the side of saving these businesses and stopping the closing, or you're on the side of allowing the landlords to continue making huge profits. But you can't do both. It's as simple as that. Is there any questions about the bill?
Where are we now with the bill? Like, how many votes?
Great. We picked up another one. We're picking up the bills. And when the debates start coming, we have 17.
How many do we need?
18.
18.
What's
18.
the threshold do we need?
26
We need 26.
to
we need
pass
18.
it. But right now, you have enough for a hearing. You have enough, I mean, that's good support.
So we need 26, we have 18.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they try to tell you, oh, you need enough to override a mayor veto. Bullshit. The mayor de Blasio would never, in his wildest dreams, veto a bill that would stop giving rights to the small businesses and their employees. He would, the immigrant community alone would go crazy.
Is there a magic number that would prevent the speaker from being able to squash it, like with Christine Quinn did?
No, that isn't the question. She did it behind closed doors.
Okay.
You know, she didn't show up at the hearing. As a matter of fact, it's probably someday they may do something about this. This is one of the most, I was there. We had our lawyer there. Nobody said anything about the legality of the bill or questioned anything. And we thought we had a slam dunk. Everybody was for the bill. The speaker, the chairman said, there is no option. We have to pass a bill or small businesses would disappear. And he reached out to the government, Small Business Service Center, and he said, listen, work with me. Let's find some solutions, alternatives. And they said no. They said absolutely not. We're not going to do it. They wouldn't even admit that rent was the #1 problem. And to this day they won't. It's fines. Anyway, the bottom line is that every council person is getting pressure from the real estate, the speakers, the people behind it. This system called democracy, City Hall, whatever you want to call it, is against us. I spoke to somebody recently, lobbied, and I said, has there ever been in the last election one person running for office, one who stood on the steps of City Hall and said, we need to save small businesses? Well, yes, sir. I know, name one. No, I can't name one because there isn't any. The influence, the largest contributors to the campaigns in the last election was the jobs from the real estate industry and even a group called Small Business Coalition. Gave more. They used to give only to the mayor. Every speaker wanted to run for mayor. Peter Verlone, Gifford Miller, Christine Quinn. That's where all the money went. Not today. They spread it out among all the council people. You control the speaker, you control the council. So they didn't need to give money to the council people. Now they give money to the council people. And so, but having said that, the public wants something done. No debate. If you did a survey tomorrow, would you want legislation to save the businesses? 99% of New Yorkers would say, hell yes. Because they're sick of it. They've experienced it. Some people maybe a dozen times. But the public is on our side. And we have social media.
You betcha.
We never had that. Let me tell you, we did it the old-fashioned way. We wrote signs. In this area right here, we were here 20 years ago, marching up and down the street. And as a matter of fact, the headquarters was a liquor store. I asked him if this was a liquor store.
Circle of Life, right?
I'm not kidding you. All of the people that were, this whole area was ripped off. They were doubling, tripling, quadrupling the rents. And they all went out of business. But we did a big march, pounding drums and everything up here. The councilman at that time was a guy named Dreyfus, who later went to jail. But anyway.
I actually have
Go
a
ahead,
question
let's have
about
some
it. I had a
questions.
long conversation with Lucian Reynolds, who I think kind of wrote Gail Brewer's proposal. He heard me out, and it was a contentious conversation. But one thing he said was something I hadn't heard before. It was a new argument against the bill. He said, and I was like, I'm sure this is wrong. He said, it's illegal, it's unconstitutional because after binding arbitration, there's nothing that prevents, if the tenant loses, there's nothing that prevents the tenant from just staying. And I said, but I don't think so. The whole point of binding arbitration is that they'd have to leave. And he insisted on that.
It's in the bill.
Yeah.
If you lose arbitration
Right.
and you
have
can't
to
pay,
go. Right.
no, listen.
Who wrote the bill?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
So you know what's in it.
I know what's in it.
So yeah.
When the bill, if the arbitrator arrives at a rent and you can't pay it, you stay there and you pay 10% more than what you were paying the last month of your lease until the landlord finds somebody, and you get a right to match it.
That's
And if you can't match them, then you have 1 month to get out. That's what the bill says.
that's what he was saying. He was, and I don't think it's a problem, but he was saying this is not fair because if someone else wants to move into that space, then at the last minute the tenant does match the higher rent, then the person who spent all this money looking for a new space is out in the cold. It's
Well, how
not fair
about
to
the
them.
person who
I
spent
know,
40
never
years?
mind
Exactly.
the person that's
You know,
Exactly.
That's the
Right.
whole idea. We're not there to write a bill to protect the profits of the landlords. We're there to protect the business who invested and the jobs and so forth. Now, let me tell you something. There are so many arguments, but you can't go against something that the whole world, the government itself uses arbitration. Sports use. I don't know anybody that doesn't use arbitration. So, I mean, we're on the right side, and it's all binding. The Supreme Court upholds the arbitration. It's a case-by-case basis. They don't know how to deal with it, so they lie. When you're in doubt, lie. And that's the bottom line. But don't worry about the solution. Any debate, any kind of situation, but more importantly, the businesses know about, or they want a right. You go into any business and say, how would you like to have a right equal to your landlords to negotiate? And you have a 10-year lease.
That's one of the biggest things.
They haven't said a word about the length of lease. You know why? Because they're abusing it. They're giving month to month, 1-year leases. Do you know what a 1-year lease is to a business? Do you know what it is? It's a form of indentured in servitude. It's no more than that. You can't do anything with a short-term lease. But the idea that you, as an individual, can never sell your business in New York City without the landlord getting a piece of the action, that you lose that right into somebody who's maybe not even in the country. They may be in China somewhere. It's like a disgrace. But I'm very confident as far as having a good solution. I mean, we're strong. We have 2 big strengths, 3, the social media, the people, and the damn bill. I mean, we have strong things, and they have the real estate, and which right now is not a big deal because the tenants are pissed off at these guys. You know, they've crossed the lines. I mean, they're going crazy. And you know what? That's good for our cause too, because we're on the same length. We're tenants. Small businesses are tenants, and I'm advising everybody to reach out to the tenants groups because we're in the same category. These guys who are just looking at the dollars, not caring about communities, not caring about anything, they treat the small businesses the same way. So there's a natural connection there, and these people have political power, big time, the tenants groups right now. So everybody should be reaching out and mobilizing, getting the tenants to join your coalitions. When you're a councilman and you see a lot of the tenants groups, if one of them happens to be in your district, you're going to pay attention to it, real attention. Any other questions about the bill? Yeah.
Not so much a question about the bill, but I had an office on 48th Street upstairs. At some point I got a new owner of the building and basically instead of a 3-year lease, I got three 1-year leases put together with escalators every year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't get hit with, oh my God, what the hell's going on the 4th year, but I wasn't saving anything over the 3 years.
She made a good point. Gail Brewer's bill excludes everybody except for ground floor retail. Now that's not by accident. They did a small business study, retail study in 1985 to stop our bill. We called it the Limousine Commission because everybody on the damn thing showed up in the meeting in limousines. They had bankers and Wall Street people for a small business thing. They called Macy's small business. So, now guess what? Well, they excluded everybody, okay? So right away, we should be reaching out to every association, professional, lawyers, doctors, dentists, everybody, saying you guys are going to be excluded. Our community is going to be excluded. Everybody who's excluded, you should reach out to, especially in Manhattan. But there was a point that I was going to make. But anyway, this is important because this helps us. If you go to a council member, he doesn't know that all of the businesses on the second and third and fourth floors of his street are going to be in his office, demanding to know, why aren't we being protected? For every business on the storefront, there's a 15 or 20 or 30 above. They're all excluded, every one of them.
And some of them are retail.
Now, here's the big surprise. Where do you think Gail Brewer got her mediation with 15% increase? Anybody want to take a wild guess?
The limousine commission.
The limousine commission. That goddamn limousine commission. This is their conclusion. So the same thing, and every business in New York City rejected it as a fraud, as nothing more than a stall tactic. And this is where, word for word, not a little bit different, word for word, 15%, 1 year, mediation, and you're out the door. So.
Okay.